She ate the body first, hoeing into the flesh as if she'd been starved all winter. No civilized diner nibbling wings as hors d'oeuvre. She got right to the point, the heart. With each shake of her head, the body shrunk as she worked it into her mouth. She knew I was there observing the feast. Mice she left on the doorstep as a love gift, but this was a bird, warmer and sweeter. She wanted me to admire her skill, to share in the pleasures of conquest. My mouth warded against my will. There was no smell, and the sound of her perfect teeth having something worthy to tear. My response was elemental as her leap with extended claws, or the bird's fear. She is a hunter after all. She eats canned fish from habit, prefers the dry pellets. Now I know why. They crunch like bones. Soon she was on the wings, grinding the frame fine as mist. She sniffed a few stained feathers, what was left. The head, eyes like unpolished stones. Then with a nip and a toss that was in her jaws too, she chewed methodically. Finally, only the beak lay on the grass, like some odd metal piece you find in a drawer. I went to open the door, then turned. She was still sitting there on the lawn. The beak was gone.
In the Norse sagas, lots of characters have really good nicknames, depending on some physical feature or something they wear. My favourite is Ragnar Hairy Breeks, who obviously had a rather nice sort of pair of sealskin trousers. You need to know that because of one of the characters in this poem. And also, the last line of the poem, or the last two lines, are a direct quote from a translation of Grettir's saga. And when I read it, I just thought, that has got to be in a poem. You know, sometimes there are things like that. You just know they've got to be in the poem. So this is putative incident in the life of Onund Treefoot. A force 10 gale out of barracked the captain, laid about the ship like a berserk, till the slave who'd penned the note that Onund left for Asa, saying simply, "Gone Viking," sicked up the words he'd swallowed, muttered at his master's buoyant swell, "We've sprung a leak." Then Onund came into his own. Of Treefoot this tale is told. He stooped to the gap where the timbers gaped like a girl's surprise, thrust his limb in the lacuna, felt wood judder against wood as the ship slewed round and ran under the lee of the wind to harbour. He was buried in Treefoot's mound, and on this and other accounts, folk said, he was the most valiant and deft of all the one-legged men who have been in Iceland.
I'm sick of being an upright green bin full of the crap you chuck in my mouth. In any case, I'm an adolescent green bin, and I write poetry, so I want to spend a great deal of my time in the horizontal position. When the wind blows, I let myself get thrown around the provinces, emptying gunk on the sodden streets. If I end up in some cul-de-sac, I'm happy. Il faut être absolument horizontal. I blow around Southampton, which I pronounce in a French accent in order to buzz things up. Sometimes I bump into bins of a similar disposition, schooled in the Parnassian tradition, but eager to transgress. Sometimes I'm as terrified as 76,000 newborn pups. Other times my tongue uncleaves itself and I'm uncontrollably scatological. Mothers going mad, calling in social workers and ringing the police. I can't say enough about this new style horizontal vagabondaggio. I will not be God's little donkey. Once I blew as far as Paris and fell in with a bunch of soldiers. Something terrible happened. Sometimes I fetch up in London, that gorgeous, godless city. For a while I lived in Camden in a somewhat chaotic same-bin relationship. When I got back to Southampton, or rather Southampton, Mother went crazy. She needs to modernize. She doesn't like it one bit when I say God is one mighty shit. Never mind. Look at me now, the horizontal green bin, blowing off to Addis Ababa. Voila. Voila.
This is kind of a love poem. My cat was dying. I was so sad, so I called my French sister-in-law and I was crying at her. And she said, well, in France we refer to pets as a bête à chagrin because they always die and you're always going to be sad. So that's what this poem is called. A thin morning, Canberra cold, and the cat is sleeping outside. He's dozing out there, dying in the sun, not knowing it. He thinks perhaps how sunlight feels on skin, how birds' wings sound the air. He tastes the drugs on his tongue. This is a matter of his life, a life of feeling, not thinking, of being, not might be. A human heart can't be, I am want. He is satisfied with is. For him, an easy death. For me, old words like chagrin come to mind, and I must make the call, rule the line. He purrs again. I stroke his staring coat. His metaphor, of course, all cats are, all loves. He blinks, dying in the sun. I can't find the gap between want and ought. Now, might be shifts into will, and don't becomes yes. The sun, the only bright spot on a hard-edged day. That's my sense of love, by the way.
This is childhood, and someone is leaving you forever. The month of September pains your memory with 1,000 blossoms. The path you have helped to shape is clear for walking. Once again, you realise that you have made nothing that can hold her away from death, as she tucks blooms back from the path's edge, smiling at the plastic spade you carry, praising your singing. You know that she went indoors to a room you have never seen and did not come out, became a shadow you have never managed to light. The month of September waits for you now, or so it sometimes seems, breathing quietly its flowers, its poppies, tulips and bluebells, and you walk among them, counting each one like minutes that are keeping you from meeting again her bent form, your hand on the spade, the garden an open wound.
Spider floss drifts with the wind and clouds, doesn't know where it's going. Morning and night, I have eaten roadside fast food. This week I drove by the shores of the lake, looking for a place to stay. A single stalk of reed with a floating nest of the grebe might come to rest far from traffic. Bear Mountain is before my cabin, and behind stands Gorge Mountain. The northern wind, steeped in distant snow, is cool, wind from the south full of car exhaust. When I arrived, the lilacs were blossoming. There were frequent visits from the swallows. I called on the blackflies to make me testy. my mind a canoe floating on reflections. After rain, lichens glimmer on boulders, sunset lingers in the pine groves. In the woods, I have found traces of old farms, spilled dry stone walls, ridges of moss that retain the shape of fences they have eaten. Sometimes I climb the peak behind my trailer. From the summit I watch as the islands dissolve in sea mist, like memories. When, as rarely happens, visitors come from afar, we sit calmly at night, the moonlight for our companion, arguing with our shadows. In this camp I live as a passing traveller. There's no room to build up a cachet of things. I think back on my stumbling life, struggling over words about flowers and birds. Now that autumn is half over, each evening brings changes to the maple.
Children sit like starlings in the branches, faces red-coated with feathers of the earth, eyes dull with waiting or bright with fever's glare. The heaving bus slows and snorts around some stripped bare trees. The waiting crowd pad in the soft dust, shoes in hand. Packed taxis sway away at speed out on the Kitwe Road. Overloaded lorries teeter, grind their visceral gears, move off in herds and menacing patrols into the counter-advancing twilight of the bush. We load weapons to ferry back to our battalion off the desert shoal of Angola, 500 miles away. 20 exhausted driven hours, wheels churning in the Kalahari sand on main tracks, deep as drifts, our faces coated red like villagers now. Angolan border, still 10 hours drive or 10 days walk away. An old man with a rusty bicycle stands tall, lets us pass, as if a sentry. Lukulu mission, we ask. He points to the right fork of the road, of the track, and takes our offer of a lift, unstraps his bow and quiver, bag and spear, and stows his rusted cycle in the truck. As our new passenger gives thanks, my Barotsi sergeant translates, "To visit my daughter in Mission Hospital, you see, Lukulu, 10 days away on tracks, you know." I'd no idea how long, how far he might have had to go. Silent, I pointed his weapons on the floor, made all the more ancient, beside the sleek machine guns, rifles and grenades, machined in factories a continent away, our tyranny of multiplying force, our fatal protection, our mobility, our power. His only defence, his own learned strength and skill, his own primeval weapons made by him from wood and metal, hunting, fire, and prehistoric miracles. Why carry these, I ask? He answered, a simple translated phrase, prophetic to me now, in life, in wounds, in age. At night the beasts come close, you understand. 50 years later, I finally understand.
They say there's a place in Thailand where if you're feeling brave enough, you can walk up and touch a chemically tamed tiger. The beast of Bengal dosed into oblivion. Stripes vibrating above a sedated, drug-hungry hearts. And I see you, tigress, impossible to ignore. You're raw, louder than before. A thing of wild beauty, strong but cautious. You move and I see it. Orange, black flames. Dead skin is a prize to a hunter, the same as silence beauty is a prize to a social climber. Neither see their reward in their glory days, instead strip their medals down until all that's left is a shell that used to hold a soldier of mind, a warrior of beauty. And the hunters came for Tigress, They longed for you and gave you what they thought you desired, but all I see now is a tiger with emptying eyes, mouth open, teeth obvious, but for the first time ever, not dangerous, just fucked. Before they tie you to a post and let tourists come and touch you, I'll rouse you. Come awake, Lady Shere Khan. Get mad, fury, roar, chase me and bite into my flesh to let me know you're still awake. Let out your cry and let the whole world know. Thank you.
My trouble, miss, the thing with me, miss, is I rush everything, I do everything like too fast. I need to slow down, I need to slow down and think, but I can't think because I'm thinking too fast and I can't think. My brain, it's like vroom, miss. Well, that's society today, isn't it? We want everything done now and we just don't give ourselves time to just stop and just mull things over, do we? Well, yeah, miss, you're right, miss. I think that could be it, miss. There's a pause. Well, that and all the meth I smoke, miss.
I'll try and get the song going, please. And the red fog, and I should tell you a story about the song. You see, this is what musicians do. It's just folk music, Jeff, isn't it? That's what they do. You think I'm not a pro, I've been here before. When I was about 14 years old, my father had a red Ford Cortina, and had a bench seat at the front and a bench seat at the back. And I was totally besotted with America. I lived in a little coal mining village about 10 miles south of Edinburgh, and it was drab, and it was dreary, and it was dreary, and it was damp, and it was happy, But just the coldness of it. And I used to go to the cinema and watch American movies, and Elvis, and all that kind of thing, Summer Holiday, and all that. And I used to think, wouldn't it be great to live in America? And so this is my kind of 14-year-old. It started as an idea of my 14-year-old self thinking about this and sitting we had a drive, and I would sit in the car at night, freezing cold, listening to the radio, just listening to the radio, imagining what it would be like to be in America. And I've kind of hung on to it for the last 40 years, so I kind of get the chance to write it now. So it goes, and a red Ford Cortina's not a Mercury true, on a Detroit Camaro in blue, and a driving movie or a race with the crew, and down by the ocean with you. Mama Cass on the radio, the Birds Loving Spoonful, Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, CSNY, music to drive to, Joni feeling so blue, Richie Havens come along for the ride. And it was, I've got to get caught. It was, I forget the chorus. And here we go. And it was only a Tuesday, but it sang like a Saturday night. And an American dream. And Maria said, Jesus, you're cross, but don't take your shit out on me. You wanna drive a fast car, you wanna go far, but you don't wanna work in this land of the free. And Elvis, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, Buddy Guy, staying up all night to sing the blues. Supremes and the Jackson, rock and roll Detroit soul. How can anyone lose? And it was only Tuesday, but you sang like a Saturday night. An American dream. And that's all I've got. Thank you. And the party's time.